Welcome to Turf Talk, where we teach you how to dominate your sport and take your game to the top, no matter what sport you play. All right, ladies and gentlemen, athletes, welcome to Turf Talk, the show made by athletes, for athletes, to give you the edge, to give you the juice, as we like to call it here at the Top Shop, to get you in the starting lineup so you're not riding the pines. Have you guys ever rid the pines? No. You never rid the pines? No, they rode the pines a couple of times. We all have, but there are certain things you can do to get into the starting lineup, and that is the topic of today's show. The first ever episode of Turf Talk. We are right here, right now, at the Top Line compound. Glendale, Wisconsin, 2012 West Bender Road, the home of the Top Line athlete. We've coached hundreds of thousands, hundreds of athletes this year, thousands of athletes over the last decade, getting them ready for sports from the UFC to professional bull riding to high school football and college football and soccer and basketball and baseball and even the WWE and even fistball, which you may never have heard of, and I didn't hear of either until I started training people for the Olympic fistball team. But on today's show, we're trying to talk about how you can ball this fall. Okay, it's fall. Today is August 8th, 2019, and a lot of our athletes have gone back now to high school. They started camp. They're starting their seasons right now, getting ready for their fall seasons. What do we coach? Hundreds, you'd say? Football players from all over, from Madison. We even work with some kids from Racine that came up earlier in the year, so we work with football players all over the place this year. Had our 7-on-7 team. We got Blake. Blake's in the house. Britt's in the house. She's behind the camera. Even Dizzard's in the house tonight, looking mighty fine as usual in the background. And for all you athletes out there, or you parents out there with athletes that are in high school, youth, college, doesn't really matter where, you're going to be able to pull some good information out of this. But before we do that, let me introduce you to myself. My name is Brett Summers, strength and conditioning coach right here at Top Line Gym. I also founded this joint with my best friend, Alex Lever, who was another college athlete and my roommate, best friend since we were in the second grade. And we've been running this place, or I've been running this place since 2008, helping athletes get better, trying to give them an environment where they can excel and get better and be more physically prepared, because I was not prepared. I was a standout baseball player at Menominee Falls High School. The all-conference kind of a catcher, playing well, playing pretty good, but kind of riding off of that natural talent, right? You're in high school. A lot of these kids will come out and they just come in with natural talent. I think we've seen that all the time, right? They're blessed with either, some skill set, or they're blessed with a little height. They're a basketball player, something they were born with it. They didn't really do anything for it. It's just kind of how they ended up. And that was kind of my situation. Yeah, I worked at it, pretty good, but I wasn't attending the proper camps. I wasn't doing strength and conditioning. I wasn't eating. So I had the skill set to go on and walk on. I was blessed with the opportunity to walk on to a Division I baseball team at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee. Scott Duffick and Jerry Augustine gave me the opportunity to walk onto the team, but guess what? I was a rookie, and I was unprepared, and I was small. I was undersized, about 100. I think it was 158 pounds when I walked onto the team. That's a really small athlete. Okay, I mean that's like a ninth, eighth grader going into freshman year. So I had to earn my keep. I got in. I had the skill. I rocked a lot of the pitchers when I had my opportunities, but my opportunities were few and far between, because I, A, hadn't put in the work, and I, B, because I hadn't put in the work, I didn't have the confidence to do the things that I'm going to tell you guys to do in the show. So again, Top Line, this show and everything else we do here is to prepare an athlete to dominate their sport. It doesn't matter what it is. All of these rules and things that we talk about are universal, from hydration, from nutrition, from sleep, from recovery, and having a good attitude, okay? And the reason I can talk about all that stuff is because I didn't have any of those things. I didn't have the good attitude. I had too much ego. I didn't eat right. I didn't understand anything about sleep or strength training, or even just strength training like a athlete should, rather than somebody who wants to get big and buff like a bodybuilder. Big differences between all that. Whether you're a parent or you're an athlete, you should know the difference. But again, like we said, our athletes are going back to school, and that also includes a lot of athletes that were going back to play Division I college athletics, or going to play at a Platteville or a Whitewater or something like that. And the amount of work and the things that these guys were doing are the things we're going to talk about in this video. You don't just accidentally end up at a Division I school. And the natural talent can get you there like it did for me, but it won't get you playing and starting like some of these guys have the opportunity to do. So today, we're going to talk about how to get you to ball this fall, okay? Simple things that you guys can do. It's too late right now at this point. Wouldn't you say it's too late to get bigger, stronger, faster? You can't really do any of that kind of stuff. Now, you can be prepared. You can get enough water and sodium in your body so you don't get dehydrated and cramp and have those types of things happen to you. You can get adequate sleep. Log in 7 to 8 hours. I think the statistic, Britt, I don't know, I think you know the statistic on sleep. You posted it the one time. If you get anywhere less than 6 hours of sleep, your injury rate, I think, can go up by what, 60, 70%. Don't quote me on that, but look that up. Anything over 7 or 8 hours of sleep, and your injury risk can considerably be lowered. So sleep is something you can control right now. Nutrition. I'm not talking about eating like going to eat McDonald's and going to eat Burger King and footlongs every day. I'm talking about good, sound nutrition, having some chocolate milk, having protein shakes on deck, having coconut water in your bag when you go to practice, whether it be for football or for soccer. Is it guys soccer that goes now? Men's soccer. So it doesn't matter if you're a soccer player or football player. Again, we've trained everybody. So anybody can benefit from this information. But here's a few specific things that I wanted to touch on and how you can ball this fall, especially if you're somebody who is maybe a second stringer or a third stringer, like we call them, like a B or a C player or a D player. You don't have to give up on yourself just because you're not the starter at the beginning of the year. So the first thing you could do, the first thing you have control of is your attitude. Right? And I'm going to hit that one right off the bat because that's the thing that I wish I would have had the most. I wish I would have had a father figure who could have told me to have a good attitude. I wish I would have had a leader who could have told me, hey, be humble and go do everything you're asked to do and hustle out every play and do some of these things, right? So the attitude is really, really important. If you show body language that you're down or you don't like where you're at in the lineup, you are going to be just kept there for the entire season. So first thing every athlete can do is just control your attitude, smile, and show the encouragement to the guy who's ahead of you, right? You can't be fearful of what he's doing. You have to know that that guy can be beat out, so why have a negative attitude the whole time? Show a good attitude and it will take you a long way. Second thing I wanted to touch on, again, it's too late to get bigger, stronger, and faster, but here's a few quick things you could do. You could show up early. You can show up early to practice. You can go to the athletic trainers and you could say, hey, what do you guys need out on the field today? Let me carry some stuff. Heck, you could even go ask the coaches, do you guys need anything before practice? Coach, do you need anything extra out on the field today? Do you need help setting anything up to make practice go a little bit quicker? Can you imagine what the coach would say? The coach would be like, oh. Coach would be blown back if you said something like that. I would, right? And we have members like that or athletes here that show up and do that. And then we also have a lot of athletes that show up late, right? We'll tell you what we do to them dudes in a little bit. But showing up early is an easy thing to do. Again, on the flip side of that, staying late. Everything that you do at the beginning of practice, you can do later. Let me help take the pads in. Let me help the athletic trainers push the cart back into the facility. Let me pull the water. Do they do the water fountain still? Hoses? They probably have a little bit higher end stuff than they did back in the day when I was there in like 1940. But at the end of the day, you can always be helping and showing good attitude. If you didn't understand something, this is going to be one of the big things here. Communicate with your coach, okay? This is something we do at Top Line. We try and teach these guys right off the bat. If a parent is communicating with me, I love the parents. I'll always talk to the parents on the side and let them know what's going on, but I want direct communication with each athlete. even if they're young, even if they're eighth grader or a freshman, male or female, it doesn't matter to me. We want to keep it so that we build a relationship and a rapport, and that builds trust between the two, and it makes them feel confident to come say, I don't really know what I'm doing, Brett. Can you help me out with something? I don't really understand what time you said the schedule was for practice. So they learn those things early. And again, I honestly wish, I have nightmares about sports. Do you guys ever have that? I have nightmares. Oh, yeah. Like, I have nightmares that I wish I could go back. Like, honestly, I'll have dreams about playing baseball. And I mean, that's my top 5 biggest failure in life, is not going pro. The hardest thing that I always was like, yeah, you know me, I'm a little unrealistic. Yeah. I have unrealistic. I thought I was going to go pro. And in college, I was at that point, I could go take a round of BP and hit 18 home runs. You know what I mean? Like, I thought I had it. I just didn't have, I just wasn't thinking big enough, I don't think. And I have nightmares about it, and I really wish I could go back and have someone teach me how to communicate with my coach. If I had a disagreement with them, go talk to him. Coach, let's go grab coffee. I'm going to buy you coffee. You know what I mean? How hard would that be? Coach, let's go grab a Gatorade and let's go on a little walk together and talk about some of these things that we had disagreements with. What did I do? I want to fight with him in the dugout. You know what I mean? And my coaches were old school, so they wanted to fight with me and I wanted to fight with them, and then I'd still be in the lineup. You know what I mean? It was kind of one of those things in college and in high school, and I'm not proud of that. I wouldn't advise that, but I wish someone would have taught me how to communicate effectively with a coach so we could be on the same page. Coach, I don't know the playbook. Coach, I don't understand why I'm not starting. Can you just explain to me what I can work on? Those are just simple questions. Now you have an expectation that the coach can set with you to where you can actually improve on something and get into the lineup. Very important stuff. And a very easy thing to do if you just get out of that uncomfortable, I'm talking to an adult. And wouldn't you say that's a big thing, guys?
It's a huge thing.
Talking to an older person. I even think that with these guys here, I think that's one of the big things, and I know athletes are watching this and parents, but I think that's one of the big things that people struggle with is talking to people that are older than them or younger than them in some cases, because you can't relate to them. Whereas I'm good at I can talk to people that are freaking 80, 90, and I'm joking with them. I'll joke with them about Jack LaLanne and Suzanne Summers and all these old things and Miami Vice. Britt doesn't even know what Miami Vice is. You know what I mean? She doesn't even know who Hulk Hogan is. How do you not know who Hulk Hogan and the Ultimate Warrior are? I don't know. We're going to have to work on these youngsters. But getting out of your comfort zone is something I wish I would have had a leader tell me to do so I could go communicate with them. That's something you can practice and get good at during the season. You don't have to necessarily just do that in the off season. You can get to the point where you can communicate with your coach. Another thing that I wish I had. Now, I would use my ego, and I would go behind closed doors and I'd say, I can beat this dude out. At UWM, a guy named Wilson. I won't say the first name. A guy named Wilson was a starter, right? Talented dude. Dude, he couldn't hit. I think he batted like 200, right? And who knows if I could have done, give me a shot, right? So I think that's one of those things. If you're a second or a third stringer, be bold. Ask your coach. Be like, Coach, no offense to the starter. I just would like an opportunity to be able to compete with them right now, right? Let me compete with them. Let me show you what I can do. And be confident. Now, if you go out there and you screw up like a preseason football game, you go out there and you don't perform well, at least you took your shot. So don't have the confidence behind closed doors. Be bold. Go talk to your coach. Say, Coach, let me have the opportunity. Do it with humility. Do it with the utmost respect for your coach and love for your teammates. But go ask for it. Go ask for the opportunity to get in front of the guy or the girl that's in front of you. There's no, they may have done just like one little thing more than you, and the coach is already thinking, maybe that this person can get slid down the roster a little bit. But because of your fear and your limited communication ability, it's tough for you to be able to go talk to that coach. And I think you got to adopt the mindset I was just talking to Blake about. My mindset is simple. The difference between you and me is what I'm thinking now as I'm an entrepreneur or a business owner. The difference between you and me when it comes to other entrepreneurs is where you see competition, I see lunch. I'm not worried about the competition. I can eat them up. I want them to wake up, and I tell Britt all the time, I want them to wake up in the morning I tell Michelle, my girlfriend, I want them to wave the white flag. I want them to quit. I want them to retreat. I want them to see that we're doing things like this show and the shows we created this week and the athletes and the people that we're working with and doing things like 7-on-7 football teams and this, that. I want them to see how much output we have out there, and I want them to quit. I want them to retreat. And that's a mindset. You have to have a killer. You have to have a hungry dog on the back of the meat truck kind of mentality where you just want to gnaw somebody's face off, right? You got to be a dog. You got to be a killer. You can't be soft, right? We've been talking about kids are a little bit soft. You got to harden up. If you're a kid watching this on the athlete page, you got to be hard. You got to get some confidence. You got to be bold, not arrogant. Bold, confident that you can beat them. Now, I respect the people out there that would be considered competition, but I don't see them as competition. People always say that. Do you guys ever hear that? And they mention gyms or, and I'm like, they're like, this person said something about you. I never heard of them, right? And even if I heard of them, I usually say, I never heard of them. Because I'm not worried about them, and I think a lot of you guys out there need to adopt that mindset. So stop looking at people as competition. Start looking at people as a lunch that you're hungry to eat, okay? I want to wrap this show up with one call to action for all of you athletes out there. The easiest thing that you guys can do to get into the lineup, and Blake, you can correct me if I'm wrong on this one with the guys we've coached this year, hustle. Hustle. It's simple. And I'm not just talking about just hustle as the general said. It sounds good to say hustle. I'm talking about every single play. You mess up on a play, Blake says flush it. And I love that terminology. If you have a crappy play, what do you do with crap? You flush it. You get over it and you get on to the next play. You don't get all down. You get after it. Another thing I wish I had the leadership to. Back in the day, coaches, and they might still be that way, if you mess up, they just sit and scream at you. And they're still thinking about that play because they're still thinking about it. I'm hoping that they've evolved a little bit. I know we did in our coaching. Cool, that play's done. Let's roll. Let's move on to the next play. And you have to have a short-term memory to be able to get to that next one, hustle through it. If you mess up on the play, go through the play at 1,000%. If you're going to fail, fail at full speed. Fail big. Don't just fail small. If you're going to screw up, do it at 100 miles per hour. This year, 2019, no matter what sport you're playing, male, female, it doesn't matter to me, young, old, skinny, heavy, anybody who's watching this, who's an athlete, you could be a CrossFitter and be watching this. You could be a WWE wrestler and be watching this or listening to this podcast on Spotify or iTunes, which will be available in the next few days here because Britzer's going to get it all dialed up. I don't care who you are, or maybe you're an entrepreneur and somehow you're watching this video because you've seen one of our other shows, the Top Line Business Show. Is that what we're calling it? The Top Line Entrepreneur. I like that. Everybody's an entrepreneur these days. It doesn't matter who you are. If you are watching this show today, hustle. Wake up. Put in the extra work. You know what's funny is we're shooting this video right now, and I'll have Britt, maybe you can go on YouTube and screen cap a clip of one of my YouTube videos from 2008-9. Yeah. And look, we're doing this now. It's 2019. I was doing this stuff before it was sexy, right? In my first week opening this place up, I had about 9 or 10 Homestead athletes, about 6 or 7 Marquette athletes. These dudes back here telling secrets during the show. Holy moly. And we had athletes coming from all over the place to get in here and get better. It's because I was putting out YouTube videos and I was linking the YouTube videos on Facebook. It's hustle. It's about doing the things that nobody else is willing to do that is going to make you get into that starting lineup, build rapport with your coaches, earn the respect of your teammates, and get the fans cheering for you and pulling for you to get into the game. And if you don't think that matters, it truly does, especially if someone has influence with that coach and they want to see you on the field. So again, make sure that you guys are doing the easy things. Next year in the off season, get in here to Top Line, get bigger, get stronger, get faster, get a little bit more intelligent, and become a leader. Become just a good person. And becoming a good person is what's really going to make you excel as an athlete rather than just worrying about the physicality or the skill work. Because you need to be a good communicator. As a baseball player, I needed to be able to communicate with umpires. I needed to be able to communicate with my outfielders, my infielders, my pitchers, because it was my job to be the quarterback of the team, which is carries over now, right? I'm just doing it a little bit better than I used to. And it's because of the personality traits that you get by working on those leadership skills. So if you're an athlete or a parent, and you might be watching this video in 2020 or 2024, contact us. You're gonna wanna get your son or daughter in here. We'll be here, we'll be doing it bigger, we'll be doing it badder, whether you see this next week or 2 weeks from now. Make sure you get in here, reach out to us. You can DM us at Top Line Gym. I'm on Instagram, at Mr. Brett Summers. Blake's here, Diz is here, Britt's here. Give them the follow, they're great people. They got a lot of value to offer. And if you need anything, let us know. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure that you're following our Spotify podcast, because it's gonna be good. We're gonna have some good guests on here. I already got NFL football players lined up, former NFL football players, Wisconsin Badgers. I've got UFC fighters, current UFC fighters and past UFC fighters, former UFC fighters that'll be here, perhaps professional soccer players, and all sorts of great guests that are gonna be able to come on this show and add value to each and every one of you guys out there. Thank you so much for your time, and be ready for lunch this year. Be ready for lunch. Go get it. There's no competition. There is no competition. Quote that. Only lunch. I like that. I like that. I'm sounding off. Brett Summers, I'm out of here. You guys let me know if you need anything. We'll catch you on the flip side.